Welcome to this match, to this session today. We have the day 3 match between two teams who are competing for a place in the 8th of finals. We are in actually the last 2 days actually of the group phase. My colleague and myself, so my colleague Anna Maria Urbanova and myself will be hosting this match. And of course I want to wish the best because I give the floor now to my colleague to host the match.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the participants from the University of Lagos of Nigeria and University of Lusaka from Zambia. Welcome to the teams. The teams have received at the same time a debate statement on the subject. The legal framework for the management and conservation of shared fish stocks should be established to ensure their sustainable use and the rights of coastal communities. The teams have prepared for this topic together for both sides of the possible argumentation, that is, both in favor and against. Shortly before the match starts, they will know which positions they have been assigned. On that note, just a short reminder from the organization's time, I will be your host for today. My name is Anna Maria Urbanova on behalf of Corks Foundation that organizes the Hague Inter-University Law Debate Tournament in 2023. As a reminder for the students and judges and viewers, if a yellow card is raised, it means 30 seconds are remaining of the speaking time. If a red card is raised, the speaking time is over, but the speaker can still conclude their sentences comfortably. That would be all from organization side, and now passing the floor to students for introductions, starting with University of Lagos. Ajadesilda Shodimu, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to confirm if I am audible and visible.
Yes, you were.
Thank you. My name is Shodimu Jadesola, and I am currently a 400 level student at the University of Lagos, Nigeria. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. From University of Lusaka, Mr. Sidney Mitty.
Okay, so good evening to everyone out there, especially those in Zambia, and good afternoon, especially us from Nigeria. So my full names are Sidney Mitty, and I'm currently a fourth-year law student at the University of Lusaka here in Zambia. And it's an honor and a good thing that I'm sharing this platform with my African brother and sister. So it's good to have this debate, and I'm looking forward to this match.
Thank you and welcome. From University of Lagos, passing the floor to Mr. Kelechi Alfaus.
Good evening from Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Kelechi Alfaus, and I'm a final year student in University of Lagos. I'm happy to be here today.
Welcome. And passing the floor to University of to University of Lusaka, Ms. Tanya Ruatse Maponga.
Evening, everyone. My name is Elia Minjan Tangarazo Maponga. Very excited to be participating in this debate. I'm in my first year law school here at the University of Lusaka, and I'm just hoping that this evening is going to be the best we've had so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Now passing the floor back to University of Lagos, Ms. Oluwatomilade Adegunju.
I'd like to confirm someone.
Apologies, your audio seems to have cut off.
I'd like to confirm if I'm audible.
Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Oluwatomilade Adegunju. I am also a fourth-year law student in the University of Lagos, and it's nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. Welcome again. We will now share the screen from my colleague's side on the allocation for the positions. Once again, the topic that was announced for the teams and that will be discussed today is the legal framework of the management and conservation of shared fish stocks should be established to ensure their sustainable use and the rights of coastal communities. So, in a bit, we will see the screen for my colleague.
Yeah.
And we will know which positions is for which team.
So, normally now you should see my screen. with the wheel with the names of the universities. So there are two possibilities for each university to be either in favor, to be either against. So we simply click on the center, and we'll know on the wheel what will be the position for that match for each team. So the position is against for the University of Lusaka. So it means that this is as a consequence the University of Lagos will have the position in favor, and as well as usual for all match, this is the team in favor who start the match. So it means concretely that the team from Lagos will be defining the position that the legal framework for the management and conservation of shared fish stocks should be established to ensure their sustainable use and the right of coastal communities. On the other side, the University of Lusaka will defend the position that the legal framework for the management and conservation of the shared fish stocks should not be established to ensure their sustainable use and the rights of coastal communities. So now, yes, you will see the 5 minutes, and of course, you can close camera and audio during these 5 minutes if you want.
Thank you very much. Your time for preparation is now over. We will be starting the opening statements. So starting with the team in favor, University of Lagos, you have now 4 minutes. Whenever you're ready. University of Lagos, you have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Who is speaking?
Hello, I'm sorry, I was having issues with the network.
Right, thank you. So we will then just ask for the other participants to close their videos if they're not speakers. Thank you. You can start.
Okay, I would like to confirm if I am audible and visible before I start.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Certain resources such as fish stocks are neither infinite nor infinitely reproducible, and we must therefore take steps to ensure that they are not destroyed, depleted, or misused. Good day, honorable judges and my co-debaters. My name is Shodimuja Desola, and alongside my colleagues, Kelechi Alfios and Oluwatomilade Adegunju, I'll be supporting the motion that the legal framework for the conservation and management of shared fish stocks should be established to ensure their sustainable use and the rights of coastal communities. According to a 2002 report by the Committee on the Environment and Agriculture, the jobs and incomes of 30 million people depend on fishing. Fish represents 17% of human consumption of proteins. While both world population and food needs are increasing, the potential for the exploitation of fish stocks keeps increasing. There is indeed a need for the establishment of the legal framework, and I will be making my argument with 4 major points. 1. The legal framework will ensure a sustainable use of fish stock, as this will prevent overfishing and depletion of resources. 2. The legal framework will protect the rights of coastal communities. 3. The legal framework will protect the economic interests of states. And lastly, the legal framework will provide a mechanism for fair allocation of fishing rights. With respect to the first point, overfishing and depletion of shared fish stocks can lead to several biodiversity challenges. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea defines the rights and responsibility of states in their use of the world ocean, including the management and conservation of shared fish stock. Overfishing is harmful as it can destroy coral reefs and result in a loss of biodiversity. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, 33% of world fish stocks are overfished, and this is having a negative effect on the entire marine ecosystem. Destructive fishing methods such as bottom trawling or dynamite fishing can harm the seabed and destroy habitats like coral reefs. Legal frameworks that impose measures like fishing quotas, gear restrictions, monitoring, and enforcement are critical to preventing this harmful effect. Now to the second point. The preservation and management of shared fish stock are important for several human rights. For example, the right to work guaranteed under Article 23(1) of the UDHR, the right to food recognized in Article 25 of the UDHR are both linked to the availability of fish as a natural resource. Coastal communities are particularly reliant on marine resources for their livelihood and food security, and overfishing can lead to the food shortages and malnutrition in this part of the world. Thirdly, to my third point, overfishing of shared fish stock will have significant economic consequences on coastal states. For example, 40% of Iceland exports are marine resources, and cod fishes, which are also shared fish stock, constitute 49% of the country's marine exports, such that the irresponsible management of the cod fishes can directly affect its economy. This might be the fate of other coastal states that rely on marine resources to power their economy if the legal framework is not established. Finally, legal framework can ensure the fair allocation of fishing rights among different user groups, including small-scale and indigenous fishers. Such framework can help ensure that all stakeholders have a say in the management and conservation of these resources. In conclusion, in the words of Dr. Sylvia Hell, a renowned marine biologist and explorer, without fish, our oceans will be nothing but silent expanses of water. They are the lifeblood of our planet, providing protein, sustenance, and livelihood for billions of people. We must act now to ensure that the environment is not at peril. We must act now to preserve and protect these vital resources for future generations. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your submission. Now passing the floor to the debate team of University of Lusaka. You have 4 minutes for your opening statement.
Can you kindly confirm if I'm audible and visible enough?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. Now, as the opposing delegation, we acknowledge and understand that a legal framework has already been established, which has been put in place to conserve and manage fish stocks that have been shared by coastal states. Such instruments that have proposed such a legal framework are what you will find in the United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas, as well as the United Nations Framework on the Fish Agreements. Other instruments that have directly had a say on the issues of management and conservation of shared fish stocks are, as earlier alluded to by the current speaker, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which proposes that it is important for these it's important for states to ensure that there's food security and ensure that people are sustained and given granted the rights. Now, it is important to understand that our opposition of this motion, which states that the legal framework for management and conservation of shared fish stocks should not be established to ensure their sustainable use and the rights of coastal states, is premised on 3 very key principles that are as follows. Number 1, we believe and have accepted the fact that it is very costly to establish a legal framework, let alone we already have an established legal framework which is ineffective and efficient. Channeling more resources to another framework is only but going to be costly and less efficient. The other point that we would want to that we stand on is the fact that cooperation amongst states is impractical. And when it comes to the management and conservation of shared fish resources, cooperation is one key thing that has been highlighted by the Food and Agriculture Organization, as well as an important philosopher, an important researcher by the name of Gallant. So you will note that cooperation amongst countries is impractical. Thirdly, we feel that a legal framework should not be established for the management and conservation of shared fish stocks because certain states, particularly the relevant states that are in the coastal areas, as well as all these other states involved in the fishing of these shared resources, some of them are incapable, some of them do not have the administrative structure, and some of them do not have the organizational structure which is efficient. Yes, we've got these international laws that have been put in place and we could already see them, but they are not efficient and they are not effective. Now, focusing on the part that talks about the fact that it's costly, the Food and Agriculture Organization has noted that there is no universal agreement that talks about cooperation between and amongst relevant states to be required. So already you can note that there's no legally binding obligation on the states themselves. Therefore, when we talk about the fact that it is costly, certain states, because it is costly, would not want to participate and cooperate in this legal framework that is supposed to be established. On top of that, we live in a competitive and a global world, right? We live in a competitive and a global world to the extent that certain states do not feel it right to share some of the information and technological advancements to other states because they feel these states will take advantage of them in terms of financial power, military power, as well as economic power. Therefore, certain states will be they will be discouraged to cooperate and take part in this. The other thing that I wanted to note is that the cooperation aspect has been shown in the cases involving PULOC, the PULOC case involving involving the United States as well as Russia, fishing of shared fish stocks in the Pacific. You will be able to note that there was no cooperation in that case because states are in a competitive world, and because one of the things that is involved in management and conservation of shared fishery stocks is research as well as concerted practices. Not many states are technologically advanced, as well as not many states have got the financial resources to be able to cooperate. I thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you for your submission. We are now entering the rebuttals. University of Lagos, you have now 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. You're no longer visible.
Am I now visible?
Yes, you are now audible and visible.
Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the opposing school for their proposition. However, we strongly disagree, and we'll be making our rebuttals on their 3 points that they have put forward today. Their first point was that it is costly to have a legal framework between states, or for coastal states to have a legal framework. It is our position that it will amount to higher costs if there is no legal framework between coastal states. As my co-debater, as my colleague has earlier mentioned, fish stocks are responsible for feeding about 30 million people. And as it stands, there's over 33% of the world's fish stocks that are overfished. It is our belief that without a proper legal framework, there would be extinction, and this would be more costly than using funds or revenues for the establishment of proper legal frameworks and the enforcement of proper legal frameworks. The opposing team have also mentioned that cooperation among states is impracticable. We would like to oppose on the grounds that so many states already form corporations. For instance, we have Angola and Namibia in South Africa that currently have a framework for the joint management of fish stocks. The opposing team have also mentioned incapable and inefficient organizational structure. However, we believe that with the establishment of Section 63 of the Convention of Law of Seas, which does not create strict rules, or rather a room for states to negotiate, there will be no issue of structure, as states can easily say where they are lacking and come to an agreement through negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Passing now to University of Lusaka, you now have 2 minutes for your first rebuttal.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Now, we believe that the one thing that is very important to establish within today's debate is that the debate is not about the importance of management or conservation, because we concede to the fact that these are things that are necessary, these are things that are important. But the question that we were hoping that our proposition delegation would answer was whether or not establishing a legal framework is the best way to go about achieving this management, conservation, as well as the protection of the rights of coastal states. And as an opposition delegation, we continue to stand firmly against this notion. Now, firstly, we tell you that on the proposition delegation, there is an assumption that there is no existing legal framework. And we come and we tell you as an opposition delegation that this is false. They keep making reference to the UN laws of UN Convention on the Laws of the Seas. They also made reference to the UDHR. And we tell you that these are legal frameworks that are existing, that are already catering for the conservation, management, as well as protection of rights of coastal states when it comes to fish stocks. In fact, the UN Convention on the Laws of the Seas is the one law that is the most governing at this stage. But what we believe is a problem is the fact that these frameworks are failing. And we believe that putting in efforts, putting in money, putting in our manpower into coming up with another framework that is simply going to fail is not the best stance to take. Secondly, we tell you that it is important to recognize that there are countries that are rebellious. We give you an example once more of Russia versus Norway. These countries entered into an agreement, and while this agreement was supposed to address the problem of management and conservation, it failed to do that. Because Russia had interests within the agreement that they had, they decided to step away from it and continue to overfish within the stock that was being shared. And therefore, we believe that a legal framework is not sufficient in coercing these countries or bringing them together to a state where we say we have successfully addressed the management and conservation of fish stock, as well as address the rights of these coastal states that are existing. And with this, I thank you.
Thank you very much. University of Lagos, you now have 2 minutes for your second rebuttal.
Thank you very much. The opposition side have come with the mistaken belief that we are stating that there are no legal framework. This is not the crux of our argument. As a matter of fact, we have referred to several legal frameworks that are currently subsisting in the international sphere. All we are saying is that these legal frameworks are very important, as my colleague had earlier mentioned with several points. And we are also stating that they need to be established in the sense that there needs to be an avenue for flourishing of these legal frameworks as they exist currently. The opposition have failed to mention, despite stating that the frameworks as they are have failed, they have also failed to mention how the legal frameworks have failed. And I've said, using the instance of Angola versus Namibia, that there are certain countries that have taken into recognition the legal framework that exists and have used them to form cooperative bodies like Angola and Namibia, like Iran. So we are saying, therefore, that we need to reestablish these bodies, and it will be more costly if we do not. It will, on the long run, lead to more damage, extinction, and on a lot of undesirable effects if we do not sit down, come together, and create better and establish stronger frameworks for the protection of joint fish stocks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission. University of Lusaka, you now have 2 minutes for your second rebuttal.
Hello, am I clear and audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. So now it is important to understand that since a legal framework that has already been established is inefficient and it's not working, what then is needed to be done to fortify our efforts in conserving and managing the environment? What we need to do now is take a deliberate approach as the open global environment and ensure that we develop programs that will be able to build capacity to these states, because we've already acknowledged the fact that states themselves are at different levels. Some are more financially competitive, some are more economically competitive. So we need to level the playing field and ensure that even as they go for these negotiations in terms of agreeing these legally enforcing instruments, they are at par in terms of having the same influence. So now, at the opposing side, the proposing side, I earlier alluded to the fact that Article 63 has been brought into question to place these legal obligations. I want to reiterate the fact that Article 63, which exists in the convention, is a non-legally binding thing, meaning that the rebellious states, the competitive states, will still not have regard for this. They also acknowledge that a legally established framework will provide for economic interest. This supports the fact that, well, since we are in a competitive and global environment, states that have got more financial resources and more financial power, when negotiating, which is necessitated by Article 63, when negotiating, they will be using their influence, they will be using their power to manipulate the weaker states, hence jeopardizing the sustainable use of shared fish stocks, because they would want to have benefit, they would want to benefit largely from those economic interests that have been legally provided. Two, they will not be able to defend the rights of these coastal communities, because it is the economic interest which is their interest than any other thing. So now, regarding the other fact that I talked about, it creates the legal framework sort of like creates fishing quotas. Now, this is what we're trying to say. China in itself has been able to fish 4.65 million metric tons in the high seas in these shared water resources. So because they've got that economic interest, they will not be able to accept to reduce that 4.6 metric tons because it has a effect on their revenue. Hence, they won't cooperate. I thank you.
Thank you. University of Lagos, you now have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
For my private classroom, I'd like to confirm if I'm audible and visible.
You are audible, not yet visible.
I'd like to confirm if I'm audible and visible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. According to historian Thomas Fuller, we never know the worth of water till the well is dry. Good day, judges. My name is Oluwatomiladé Adegoju, and in the space of 2 minutes, I'll be buttressing and concluding on the point made by my teammates on the topic. During the course of the debate, we will emphasize the importance of an established legal framework, which includes prevention of overfishing, protection of rights of coastal communities, and fair allocation of fishing rights. We are maintaining that an established legal framework would ensure protection of biodiversity. A major contention of the opposing side has been a lack of an imbalance in negotiating power, but the UNCLOS provides for a system of mutatis mutandis, and the system in place has in fact yielded positive results in various countries. For instance, there's a bilateral treaty between Norway and Russia that brought about major successes as it sought to the creation of a surveillance program in the Barents Sea and the implementation of measures to improve the sustainability of exploiting shared stocks. Therefore, we are submitting still that an established legal framework is needed to stop surface-level interventions and half-hearted protection of coastal communities. And furthermore, the establishment of a legal framework would help forward the achievement of SDGs 14 and 12, which is life below water and sustainable consumption, respectively. And honorable judges, we need an established legal framework to deal with the current reality. The situation is too urgent for us to go about making other avenues apart from a legal framework. And we are maintaining the position that an established legal framework will ensure sustainable use of shared fish stocks and protection of coastal communities. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your submission. University of Lusaka, you now have 2 minutes for your conclusion.
All right, clear and audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, now the first thing that we want to do within the conclusion is provide clarity from the preceding speaker who just finished speaking, where she gave reference to the case of Russia v. Norway. And we want to make it clear to the adjudication panel and everyone listening that in that case, actually, it showed how bilateral agreements fail because Russia went back on the agreement and that created chaos within the jurisdiction. And therefore, we feel like this is a clear example of how legal frameworks fail. Now, what did we expect within today's debate? We expected the proposition delegation to come and show us how legal frameworks have succeeded or how establishing a legal framework is going to succeed, but we failed to get that. And for that, we believe that you should lean towards opposition in today's debate. What did we manage to tell you? Firstly, we showed you that the existing legal frameworks are already failing. I'll give you another example for the sake of addition of cases. We show you that in a case decided in the International Court of Justice on the case of the North Sea continental shelf cases, a binding obligation was placed on states, but this obligation is not one that has been adhered to. We gave you an example of China. They are under this obligation, but they are number one on the list of overfishing. And we tell you that this failure to adhere to the binding precedence that has been set is a problem, and therefore legal frameworks will fail. Secondly, we told you that it is something that is very costly. Why do we say it is costly? Because it's not, you don't just wake up and you formulate a law. It takes resources, both financially and including manpower. And we tell you that instead of wasting time in investing these resources in something that is already that has already failed, let us use these resources to something that might actually better address the situation. And then lastly, we also spoke about the capacity and administrative structures of countries that are existing within these agreements. And we tell you that once these agreements have been put into place, the countries need to have the capacity as well as the administrative structure to be able to enforce the legal framework that has been put into place, and also to be able to ensure that they bring about their concerns when their rights are infringed upon. And it is with this that we've never been more proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you for your submission, and well done to both teams. This now concludes the day 3 match for your group between the University of Lagos and University of Lusaka. You can now relax. You can turn your cameras back on. We'll do a short feedback session where you can reflect on the preparation period for the match itself. And perhaps if you had any experience with the topic either during your studies or preparation for research in general. So perhaps starting with the University of Lagos, Ms. Shodimu Yadesolu Alwa.
Yes, thank you. Again, it was really a nice round, and I loved hearing from the opposing speakers. It was really an interesting topic, and we found it a bit difficult to, find arguments that would find strong arguments for the debate. But overall, it was a really interesting match, and I learned a lot about the fish stock and how they directly affect the ocean. And it's nice to be able to debate with my brothers and sisters from other African countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now for the reflection from the University of Lusaka, Mr. Sidney Miti, how did you find the preparation? Did you already experience the topic before the match?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity again. So the preparation stages were quite interesting, looking at these different conventions, looking at how practical they are and the enforceability and the importance of having these legal frameworks. So I felt like we really enjoyed this motion even as we were preparing, especially looking at the fact that our country, Zambia itself, is not a coastal state. So it's really interesting to actually tap into information that's out there and be able to see how best we can be able to just add into our own resources or maybe help with the whole conservation and management. Apart from that, I feel like having this debate with our colleagues from the University of Nigeria, which is a coastal state, was also interesting and highlighting or enlightening to us, I should say, because then now we get to have a feel of what our colleagues who are actually ex-coastal state have to say over the same motion that has been given. All in all, it has been a lovely experience, and we thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Returning back to University of Lagos, apologies. Yes, to University of Lagos, Mr. Kelechi Alfios.
Am I audible? Thank you
Yes,
very much. So I enjoyed today's debates. The University of Lusaka are a very formidable team, and I got to learn a lot from what they were saying, things that we did not even see during our research and preparations. The preparations were tough, especially seeing as we are also a coastal state and we do not exactly have even though these frameworks exist, we do not have established enforcement regimes. Well, irrespective, it was a very interesting match, and I'm happy that I experienced this.
Thank you very much. From University of Lusaka, Ms. Maponga, how did you find the experience?
Okay, overall, this has been a very enlightening experience for me, not just today's debate, but all the debates in general, considering that I'm only a first-year student in law. It helped me to, recognize and acknowledge all the different kinds of provisions that are out there pertaining to different topics. And as for this particular debate that we had, I think for me, this was the most interesting debate that we've had so far, because there was so much information to tap from. There were interesting cases to read on these provisions. And yeah, the experience was great. I loved the interaction with our proposition delegation. So overall, this has been a lovely experience.
Thank you very much. We are always happy to bring new topics to the students, and hopefully you'll get to experience even more throughout your studies or this competition. That said, back to University of Lagos, Miss Adegunju, how did you find the experience of this round?
Am I audible? I would like to confirm if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
So there was a bit of anticipation for this topic in particular. I was interested, not that I've not been interested in the other topics, but this was more on a topic where we had to really think about our interpretation of the topic. We had to think about the points that we're bringing up and how to like tackle the issue of like overfishing. And also it was amazing to listen to the other team speak, and the preparation that went into topic also opened our eyes to a lot of issues with enforcement, also issues with like the basically imbalance. And it was very, very enjoyable to search, to find out information and to figure out like, oh, this is really what is happening. Like it's not just something that we hear about, like eat fish, basically. And there is a lot that goes into getting that to our table. So it was just an amazing experience so far to set up and also to speak. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And really, on the side of organization, I would like to congratulate both teams on well done for your research and well done for the execution of your research during the debate itself. It must have been quite an experience to prepare for both sides, especially when universities participating for the first time. The other might have already had some experience shared from your previous team from 2022 edition. But good job on this preparation and execution. I'll be now passing the floor to my colleague who will be doing our traditional roundup and closing the session for today.
So yes, so congratulations, because really appreciated to hear indeed different arguments, and as well as the dynamic you had in answering the position of the other team. Now we have this tradition indeed to ask what are the connections between the two countries or the two cities or two universities, and even between the two groups of students. I know that there is a lot of distance, of course, between the two countries, even if, yes, it is in Africa, because Africa is extremely big. But first question, in Lagos, have you had any connection, or do you have any friends, maybe, who is from Zambia, or who came from Zambia, maybe? So, Mr. Kleishi, yeah, praise? Or...
Am I audible?
Yes,
Am I
please.
audible?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I do not have any friends from Zambia. However, I've faced Zambia in a couple of competitions. Even in the University of Lusaka, I faced them in a foreign direct investment competition. So yeah, I do not have any friends from Zambia.
Okay, so maybe it's the start of keeping contact with your opponents, of course, for other activities as well. On the side of Lusaka, have you had any contacts or visitors or friends yourself from Lagos or from Nigeria in general?
I myself have interacted with a couple of Nigerians. Two of my friends are Nigerians, so it's really nice to experience a different culture. Like you said earlier, yes, we're all from Africa, but there's a lot of distance and cultures differ. The food is different, so I'm happy to have experienced, a bit of this and a bit of that. And myself, I'm in Zambia, but originally I'm from Zimbabwe, so this is like a whole cultural experience for me. I'm experiencing so many nationalities, and it's very interesting.
Very good. So,
Yeah.
yes, please tell me as well, yes.
Yeah, so just in addition, I think she just pinpointed one thing that I wanted to highlight. The school itself has got an open door policy where international students come through. So myself, I have quite a number of Nigerian friends who are students at this institution, and we've been interacting, sharing quite a couple of information, particularly with the food. Yeah, but yeah, it's been great with the interaction with my friends.
And just a last question. In terms of music, for example, do you have some famous singers, bands, or I don't know, because I don't know in which country sometimes some, I would say, music singers. Yeah, tell me.
Well, when it comes to the music industry in Africa, I feel like it's largely dominated by the Nigerians and the South Africans.
Ah.
So, like myself per se, I'm a huge fan of the Nigerian music, and I feel like I follow them. Burna, yeah, I feel like that's my favorite artist, Grammy Award winning, and the many couple of interesting artists like Olamide, who's really good, even though he's in the background, and the other guys that come through this channel of um, producers like Fireboy,
Yeah.
these cool guys that are doing the most. But yeah, in terms of our own artists in Zambia, I feel like we also have some that are out there. I'm not sure if they're really, really making an impact that side, but we've got the likes of Yo Maps. Yeah, I feel like he's one of the biggest artists in Zambia. Market 2, Slap D, all those guys. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us as well, Mr. Kelechi, Alpheus, all those names, you know them, I guess, from Nigeria, and as well, you know some indeed from Zambia who came to Nigeria, some artists?
Yeah, we do have a lot of artists leading in the music industry in Africa. Unfortunately, I do not know any Zambian artists, unfortunately. But I'm not the biggest fan of music, so perhaps that is why.
Okay. But in any case, we want to thank both teams for your involvement and as well for this match of the group phase, because of course we will prepare some additional things for you and for all the teams. But for this match, yeah, it was really, really nice and interesting to see as well how you were debating. Indeed, even if you do not have any cost in Zambia, or even if indeed you had to defend another position, maybe you prepared as well in Nigeria. But what was indeed very good is that we saw that there is it was a real debate, okay? So it's what we can see, and of course we encourage you, if you want to keep contact, if you want us to put you in contact directly, it means email address, etc., you can just send a quick email to Course Foundation, and then we'll be able to put you in contact, okay? Many thanks again, many thanks in Lagos, many thanks in Lusaka. We keep in touch. In a few days you will receive, of course, the results with the forms from the judge, and as well additional invitations for April, obviously. Thank you as well to my colleague, Mr. Banova. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.